How's it going? Nice to see you all. I'm so excited to wrap up this series. I feel like I am, I don't know, concluding the rest of your lives moving forward, as it should be, because you guys have gone through, many of you, what is it, 14 weeks of universal law, and hopefully when you leave today, you're going to feel pretty good that you know how to apply the things that we have learned from universal law. And I want to start today by going over the universal laws nice and simply, but we will be getting to the final law on my list, number 13, the law of attraction, or as I like to call it, the law of creation, because you're one with everything. You're a little piece of God or the universe or whatever, infinite creation. You are just matching up with your own creation. So you could think of attraction as creating the things that you want in your world, creating them. All right, so to begin, I've got my basic list here, and we're just going to go through them three at a time. 1, 2, and 3. We got the law of one, the law of mind, the law of polarity. The law of one states that we are all one. Everything is one. Everything comes from one thing and is essentially has journeyed away from the one thing to eventually come back to the one thing. In a big torus-like searching sort of thing. We're all one. We're one, you and I, like the human beings are all one. You're one with the rocks. Like all of these things are different levels and degrees of consciousness. And though there may seem to be color differentiating things and light and dark, ultimately all of these things, as we'll see, are just sort of, tricks of the mind, differentiation of this one eternal thing. The law of the mind states that everything is mind. This one thing is oblivion, and we can call it oblivion because we're a mind outside of the thing pointing at the thing that's nothing. But the concept of the nothing being nothing only happens when there's something to commentate on the nothingness of the one that we come from. So everything is mind. There is no physical something without the idea or the possibility in existence first. When people ask what came first, the chicken or the egg, I always say, that's not right. You're not being given the right answer. The right answer is the idea for the egg and the idea for the chicken. Those things come first. Ideas come first. So, law of mind states, ideas come first. Everything is mind, even physical, solid things. This is mind. This is a concept, solidity. I like to talk about water because it can change into so many different states. There's actually a fourth state of water. You know that, Michael? I always knew about it, but like when the bugs like walk on the top of the water, it becomes like this kind of like mid-level silicate state. So there's like ice, and there's this mid-level state, and then there's liquid, and then there's gas. So there's 4 states of water. So cool. Anyway, all of those states are just different conceptual arrangements of molecules closer together, further apart. All ideas, all mind. Okay, number 3 here is polarity. From this nothing, this oblivion, this no mind, and this mind comes an inherent, you could call it an instability within creation. The mind of the universe is just inherently like kind of messed up from leaving its complete oneness, its balance as one. And now it's, eternally imbalanced until it can get itself back onto a path to balance, which we'll talk about in a little bit. So this sleeping God and waking God, creates a polarity. And another way to think about this, we were talking about the meaning of life last week. What is the meaning of life? The meaning of life is to give and to receive. So, the mind is to give, to receive, and also the mind, from the nothing came forth the mind. So the nothing gave forth the mind, and then the mind has given ideas back to the nothing. give and receive. And this is that polarity, that push and pull between the two things. Okay, so moving on to the next four, we've got vibration, relativity, and gender. Vibration, the law of vibration just states that everything vibrates. Everything is uniquely resonating in its own unique frequency, down to a stone on the ground. You know, there are molecules within it, just wooing around each other, creating a vibration in everything. You know, so even when your body, if you die and you leave your body is still alive. You know, there's cells in there that are very much active. Okay, so there's everything is vibrating, literally everything. Every molecule is vibrating, and it has a unique vibration. And you can't necessarily hear these things. We can only hear in a certain frequency. So just because you can't hear that it's vibrating or whatever else, trust me, it's on some level, every little molecule, you know, if I burn up a little thing and it's just down to like ash, these ash, whatever little particles are left within that thing are still vibrating. And then every vibration that exists has a relative vibration to it, which if you study color theory, it's kind of a cool thing. I got my little color chart over here, but the Kabbalah tree. But there's all sorts of interesting things that you can see in terms of what they call complementary colors, which tend to be the color that doesn't exist within the color that has been mixed, and colors that are opposite and congruent. These are all various relativities to a vibration. But really, the perfect relativity to a vibration can balance that vibration back with this. See, because this mind, the moment it made its first thought, it essentially brought itself out of balance in a direction, in a fashion. There is a relativity to its vibration that it's taken that can balance it, you know, sort of motion with motion, that essentially brings it back to the oneness. And that is where gender comes in. Gender is the two fundamental vibrations of the universe, the masculine and the feminine. People get very hung up on these things because they tend to associate them with boys and girls. Boys are masculine and feminine, girls are masculine and feminine. Everybody's got both. And everybody has to balance both. And usually most people are kind of fundamentally out of whack in one and not the other. Because they're kind of overdoing it. They've put all their eggs in one basket. They're like, I'm supposed to be a dude. And they get really good at being a dude. Or I'm supposed to be a lady. And they get really good at being a lady. But they leave their masculine imbalanced. And they're bullies, and they're terrible managers who are really nasty to people because their masculine's really out of whack, and people are calling them a bitch all the time, and they're like, I don't know what you're talking about. You know, but they've got a wounded masculine that they're not really taking care of. They're working on their feminine, and they're not really addressing the roots of the masculine, because that comes with sort of like the things that we're taught when we're boys. And that really comes down to a lot of it too. You know, boys tend to be taught certain things and girls are taught other things, and we're not both taught the same kind of emotional things to help us. And therefore we can get really out of balance within these two energies. I'd like to say a lot that I've always been very balanced in my feminine, but a bit imbalanced in my masculine. Largely because, like, I don't really like the idea of fighting and aggressiveness in society, and I always felt like I was kind of on everybody's team. And then at the same time, you sort of start to get this like notion from people like, well, you better defend yourself, or, you know, like, you better get in there and take care of yourself, or what, like, and I'm like, I thought we were all on the same team. And then you start to try to overcorrect to like, okay, well, so what do I got to be like? I got to be macho? Like, it's very tough. It's a balance to properly stand up for yourself. I think one of the biggest things that most people who struggle with their wounded, you know, masculine and feminine also, you know, is when people are feeling a thing, acting on the feeling and being honest at the moment that you're having that experience. we kick these cans down the road, and then we tend not to learn as much from our experiences, and really, I guess you would say, you call that a big masculine thing of not being able to stand up for ourselves the proper way at the right time and feel okay about that. And that's a really important thing that we have to do. And also being able to, on the feminine side, being able to forgive and forget at the right times, when other people are coming to us and it's their moment and they've figured out that they can get over something, we have to be feminine at those moments and allow for their change and allow for the space for things to be better. Because that's kind of the feminine. The feminine's always looking to improve upon things and be additive for the future benefit of all. And then the masculine's sort of like appreciative of what we've got and very honoring of the status quo. And, that's what masculine, the pillars of the society. And then the feminine people are the people who are kind of a little wonky on the edges, trying to change it up. And we need both energies. We need the energy of honoring the right things, and we need the energy of trying to explore and trying to change things for the better, because both are important. So that comes down to unique vibration, relativities to every vibration, and these two vibrations being masculine and feminine, and if they can come together, they can balance each other to bring it, this mind closer to the one. Okay, moving on to 7, 8, and 9. We got the perpetual transmutation of energy, inspired action, and cause and effect. The perpetual transmutation of energy, I made this the black guy with the little white guy in it, because from this oneness came the mind, right? So everything came forth from nothing. And that's perpetual possibility. And from all of this possibility, mixed with action of the mind, the inspired action, which in the case of the initial creation of the universe is just sort of a mind waking up and testing out different concepts within a mindscape, of shapes and size and scale and what might be. And then from these things, the world that we're living in, we're looking to take what's called inspired action, which I like to talk about as the joke about the guy on his roof while the whole area is flooding and he's praying to God to save him, and 2 boats come and a helicopter comes and he's like, no, God's going to save me, and he drowns. The inspired action is, boom, there's a boat here. I asked to save me, and there's a boat. Here we go. Put 2 and 2 together. That's inspired action. I want this, and I see a pathway towards it. Here we go. That's it. That's inspired action. And cause and effect. All of these things here are all cause and effect. The oneness begets the mind. Now the mind exists. Now there's polarity. There's all sorts of different possibilities for vibrations. There's all different possibilities for the vibrations not yet vibrated. There's all different possibilities for unique balances of these two unique masculine and feminine energies. It all is cause and effect, and the cause and effect continues on and on and on and on. And we are living out the cause and effect that started here and has continued on infinitely to you wherever you are. You actually have a lot of momentum and cause and effect that's going on from other lives and from before you started to become conscious enough of things like this to do anything about it. So momentum, and we're going to talk about it later when we talk a little bit more about law of attraction. Momentum is an important thing to sort of understand, how much momentum is involved in the things that you have going on in your life that may be bad or may be good. It may take a minute for some of that momentum to slow down. It may take a minute for you to speed up some of the momentum that you want to speed up. Okay, so there's all sorts of possibility, and there's all sorts of inspired action to be had, and cause and effect make the world go round. All right, moving on to 10, 11, and 12. We got the law of rhythm, the law of correspondence, and the law of infinite compensation. The law of rhythm states that, there is just sort of inherent patterning within the mind of the universe that keep coming back around again. And, these set up as these 9 here and these little sets of 3s are examples of some simple rhythms that are going on. And, there's some awesome mathematical stuff that I'm just not the person to teach it. Because so much of it is just like super, super complex, and I get very frustrated if I'm not really accurate with my information. And when it comes to numbers and stuff like that, I just don't even want to deal with it. But there are great, awesome people who are on YouTube, and I'm sure you can look up, who do really, really, really cool videos on numbers and so much of the magic of numbers. Numbers are just inherently magical because they contain within them these rhythms. And, you know, I tried to kind of put some of the magic of the numbers that I know myself into the ordering that I put these together for you guys to learn them. But there's so much more richness to really understand, to understand circles really well, to understand the Platonic solids very well, to understand sacred geometry. It's wonderful things to study and to think about. It'll make you better at anything you do, music and art and just being a person, just as you're because essentially you're learning about graphic design and where all these different points are and where things intercept and the simplicity of numbers and shapes. It's making up so much of the universe. So much of what you are is just numbers, you know, sort of to a certain degree, whole numbers of cells and whatever else, whole things running around doing things in your body. You as a whole thing, and the other people as other whole things. The earth as a whole thing. You know, it's a numbers game, but then it's also shapes, and you know, your organs are based on slivers of very, very, very high level, complex, sacred geometric figures. You can't really tell that your heart is a sacred geometric shape because it's blown up like a balloon. So if I took like a structure that was a fragment of glass and then I blew it up a little bit like a balloon, you'd go, oh, I see how my heart is this geometric shape. I'll see how this is this. So sometimes it can be a little difficult to see when we're looking at the sort of curvature of the world that everything is based on this simple math. But studying the unique aspects of math. Like, I'm not telling you, like, go do a bunch of math problems. Like I'm saying, go study magic math and numerology and interesting things about math. Like, you'll just be kind of blown away by some of the things that you'll discover. And ultimately, they're all little bits of discovery of yourself, of the way the mind of the universe is working and the rhythms that are playing themselves out, because the rhythms are in the math. Now, also within the math is the correspondences, which are sort of just larger rhythms, where we're moving up into new octaves, or we're moving down into new octaves, or previous octaves, however you want to look at it. So rhythms and correspondences are just kind of like the big sister to each other. But also it's kind of that thing of coming back around to something that's very similar but different. You know, I've been having the experience this past year of my life where I just keep experiencing pretty much the same situations over and over again, but very differently for me. Like every time I come back, or sorry, I drank some water and I had to belch. Excuse me. I would come back around to the same situation, but I felt very differently about it. And then I would come back around again, and I felt uniquely differently about it that time. And again, and you could call every one of these things just sort of a new correspondence, a new octave of my experience as I was sort of changing fundamentally how I felt about a lot of different things. Moving on to number 12, we've got the law of infinite compensation, which basically states that, you know, everything is mind. The mind can think for forever. You know, you go to sleep at night and you start thinking, and it just goes and goes and goes and goes. One thought connects to the next, and the next, 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 next. And a mind that didn't have a body that was going to disappear, which everything comes from mind, right? Mind first. It could think for forever. All these ideas of concepts of life and death and solid and you know, liquid, it's just concepts. The mind is infinite. And so if the mind can infinitely compensate and everything comes from the mind, then infinite compensation, anything you want, you can have. And essentially, with the inclusion of concepts like the multiverse, which I very much believe exist, you're kind of depriving yourself of anything that you might want that you could have, because the universe apparently having that other universe go on. You know, like the one where you won the lottery, that universe exists. You don't have it because you're like, oh, I can't have that universe. But you could. It exists. It's for you to infinitely compensate yourself with the ideas that are within possibility. You know, and maybe lotto is not the best one because, you know, really, when you're doing things like this in the beginning, you're always going to be looking to give yourself a little bit of a crutch, a little bit of a reminder of like, I'm okay because I've got my lucky stick. You know, I'm okay because I know this, and that gives me faith, that powers my thought. Because so much of the world and the consciousness, the conscious collective that we're all part of, is going to be working sort of against you in your mind, or at least you're going to think they are. You're creating your own universe, so it's only you working against yourself. But your understanding that somebody might not think similarly to you, might be thinking more limitedly, it'll work against you. So it behooves you to kind of trick yourself and give yourself as many extra, kind of pats on the back of this is why I'm doing this and this is why whatever is possible. Because whatever is possible, it's going to seem hard to believe because we've been told that such things are, not true. But it's true. All right. So that's it. We got infinite compensation. Do I have any questions about any of that stuff before I move on? Because I'm going to start talking about the law of attraction because it's the last one, just like all at once, and we're going to get into this whole shebang.
Question, just a comment. Angela says, if you can see it, you can have it.
Yeah. And, it's the thing that, I wanted to say, I'll say a little later, but maybe I'll say it again. But, I want to encourage you all to dream a little bigger. I don't know if you saw that movie Inception. There's a great line where he shows up with the big gun and he's like, dream a little bigger. Which honestly, he should have showed up with a bazooka and said, dream a little bigger. He shows up with a bigger gun. I'm like, it's a slightly bigger gun? That's the best you've got? Dream a lot bigger, man. You're really low expectations. Dream like those guys have done. They're dead. Didn't have to do anything at all. That'd be better. So, yeah, you have to dream bigger. And by that I mean that in a lot of ways. You need to try to start opening up doors that you've closed for yourself, of things that you can't do. If you hear yourself saying, I can't do this or I can't do that, you got to say, I can do anything. And I don't want to think like that. I don't want to think in limiting terms because the way I think is what I'm going to get. And that's really what we're getting into right now. The law of attraction, which is about lining up with the vibration that which you would most prefer to live. And it's about, it's not about struggling, but having faith in all these things. I've spoken about before that my whole inspiration for this class was me feeling this law of attraction is a little superficial. And that people kind of miss so much of the points of what's going on in the world when they're focused on just I got to line up with the things that I want. And they don't understand all these other things about themselves, and they have a lot of struggles. So, these things are the things that teach us how to line up and be the vibration for the world that we would prefer to live in. The most powerful way that I know to do this is to live in perpetual gratitude. That's getting yourself to a state of mind where you feel grateful all the time because you know that your needs are met. And even if your needs are not met this second, it's the knowing that your needs are met that can get you there. Knowing that everything is okay. And really that's the biggest thing of attraction, because I've listened to Abraham Hicks, who I adore a lot, who's a person who channels about the law of attraction a lot. And if you ever have any specific questions about the law of attraction, go type in Abraham Hicks and ask specific questions. She gives wonderful, very direct answers to things. But the whole of it ultimately showed me that it's all a little bit of a distraction. We're all distracted. We're asking about all of these specific things. And specifically what we need to understand and have faith in is that our victory is assured. It's just a matter of time with this polarity and this infinite compensation and all these things going. Everything is eventually going to work out. Hang in there. On your deathbed, live a little longer. You know, the upswing is coming. You know, it's just perpetual. It must be. Okay? It must be. And if you can line up a little bit more clearly with it, like, you know, I'm talking about it primordially, like it's a big storm that's going to get you. And to a certain degree, it is. It's a big storm that's raging. And if you're trying to rage against it, you're going to get your ass kicked. Okay? It's very much like going on ayahuasca. You know, Mother Ayahuasca is a plant spirit. And if you are resistant to what she's trying to show you, she will give you a bad time. People who have bad times on ayahuasca are usually those who really don't want to see the information that they're being given. And that's kind of true of life. The more we resist and kick up our feet and don't want to learn the lessons that life is trying to bring forth to us, the more we, you know, just make a mess of the place and don't really make much progress at all. So, you know, it's about lining up with that vibration. I've told this story before. I'll tell it shorter. But when I was a kid, I always thought Native Americans were kind of silly doing their rain dance. And then through this shamanic practicer on YouTube, I heard a story about him going out to a field with this shaman to pray for rain, as he said. And the guy was just there for a minute with his eyes closed and his feet on the ground, and then he was like, he was hungry and he wanted to leave and go eat. And the guy was blown away. He's like, wait, I thought we were going to pray for rain. And the guy said, no, I didn't pray for rain. You pray for rain and you get more no rain. Pray for rain meaning, hey, there's no food, I want more food. You're saying, there's no food. And the universe says, yes, you're right, there's no food. So the shaman said, I felt the water from the rain on the ground with my feet. I smelled the dew in the air from the rain that had fallen. I saw in my mind the crops risen and grown. I saw my family fed and happy, and they were all eating and full. And then I thought, I'm hungry. Let's go eat, right? So what is a rain dance? A rain dance is a celebration. It's appreciation for the gifts given to you in the future, because you have faith that they're coming. Now, this isn't this kind of blind faith kind of thing, and we're going to get to kind of what we learn from all 12 of these guys to get to the law of attraction. But let me just see if there's anything else I want to share about the law of attraction in particular before we move on to that. No. So lining up with a sense of satisfaction is really key to this, because you want to be grateful. You want to live gratefully. So feeling like things are satisfying to you, looking for the satisfaction in things. This will help you to attract the things that you want. When you line up with the things that you like, you know what you want. The only thing standing in the way of them is you, and you noticing that they're not there. As you decide to divert your mind and notice the things that are there, and decide to notice all of the things that are so satisfying in your reality, you'll find that that creates the energetic space for you to attract other satisfying things. And when it comes to finances and health and romance and all these different things to think about when we think about attraction, we want to get off of that, because that's a list of details. We just always want to be focused on our highest good, and that we know that our highest good is in the offing, and we know all the things that we'd like. We already know them. We don't have to get specific and start thinking, when we're thinking about our highest good, thinking about that boyfriend we want, or thinking about the girlfriend we want, or thinking about the money we want, or thinking about the job we want. We just have to think, my highest good is assured, and I know that it is. And I know that the energetic brain of the universe knows everything I know, and when I'm out of the way, it's going to give me what I want. And the more I try to get in there and get kind of specific, thinking about the details of what I want, the more my human brain is just going to kind of stuff up the infinite. I talked about this a little bit before about writing that song, It's Raining Money, because I had like a thought of like, well, it can't just rain money. And then it occurred to me that, oh, well, it could rain money. You know, there is some bizarre story in which some drug money was being peddled across the United States and some guy had to get out of his plane and oh, the door opened and the plane's in a spin and money's flying out the doors and now it's raining money. You know, it could happen. And that was a lesson to me about sort of opening the door to possibility. It's so easy for us to close doors. We close thousands of them all the time of like, oh, well, that's impossible and that's going to, you know, COVID's making us close doors like crazy. We're like, well, we can't do it like that anymore. We can't do it like this anymore. The more doors you can open, the better for your life and your mind and your heart and your soul. And to understand that these are all doors of the mind. You know, is COVID affecting things in ways? Sure, it is. But at the same time, so much of the ways that it's infecting us, more of the ways it's infecting us, or more of the way it affects us all as minds, as a whole, how we're all doing things now based on what's going on. But you can choose to buck that system and not be thinking that way and just be open to all the different possibilities that are around. And there are plenty of jobs and plenty of interesting things coming up and unique people being sought after with unique skills because of this unique situation we're in. So if all of a sudden you have a sort of mind of, oh, what a great opportunity this is, then it is. It's all how you look at it. Most people are going to choose to look at something like this as not an opportunity, which really makes it all the more in your interest to look at it as an opportunity and take advantage of their disadvantage, their inability to have faith in the infinite compensation and all of this universal law that's going on that nobody can stop. You know, it's the flowers are still growing, right? The flowers and the trees, they're all still living. Life's going on. It doesn't matter that some silly, arbitrary stuff in our existence has changed. Really, it's just sort of window dressing to a certain degree. You know, the window dressings are changing.
You got a comment?
Oh, yeah.
Tim, if you could.
Sure.
Time to mention the cookies.
Oh, Tim, cookies.
He said he's been dreaming of figures since we've been talking. He wasn't sure about the whole attraction thing, but it sure is working since he's been in that state of perpetual positivity and gratitude and gratefulness.
It can never hurt you to be open to possibility. We really tend to do the most damage to ourselves by just limiting what we believe is possible. So, we're going to change that.
And Amber says, I've always got
Cookies are delicious, man.
They're delicious.
Mm-hmm.
I've always gotten what I needed and wanted by pushing for it, not backing down. I always tell myself giving up is not an option. I have to do a lot of that, being an advocate for my daughter. Oh, this looks good.
Oh, it is. It's delicious. Yeah, you know, so much of that, you know, as I hear what you're saying, you know, I hear the energy of it. I hear the pain in what you're saying. And, you know, unfortunately, so much of the journey of enlightenment is turning our frown upside down about things that we probably would rather not turn our frown upside down about. And that is the trick. You know, the things that we most fear are likely going to come into our life in various ways depending on how well we address them. And if we don't address them at all, they eventually come to our lives in really big ways. And then when we're faced with these things, you know, it's not just about rising to the occasion face first and taking it all in the eyes. It's about getting to the point where it doesn't feel like you're getting hit in the face anymore, where you don't feel like you're getting destroyed. You know, that's been the journey for me, sort of like destroying myself so that I could see that it was all in my head what that meant, what destroying myself meant, or what you know, whatever that sort of thing means to you. You're something that's so terrible. And then you just got to come to a new perspective on it. And we'll talk about that in a second. Just real quick, I want to talk about momentum. You know, we have to be self-aware about what kind of momentum we have that is taking us in various directions. You know, what's the momentum at your job? What's the momentum in your romantic life? You know, what's the momentum for you on your horoscope as the moon turns and stuff? There are energies at play already. So when you're getting into the law of attraction and attracting the things that you want, you have to be aware that you have momentum built up from earlier. And it may take a minute to slow that momentum down and get it going back in the other direction. This stuff, you know, sometimes can take a minute for, you know, different people to stop overthinking it. I'm a big overthinker. You know, really, it's taken me a long time to get my head out of my butt myself. All right, so moving on. What have we learned here from these 12 laws? So from the law of one, I think the simplest thing that we can learn is do unto others, right? Do unto others as you would have them see done to you, because you're one with them and they're one with you. So even if you're a Jew across from Hitler and you're yelling at him, you're just hurting you. You're just hurting you. What more is there to say? Everything's one. You're just hurting yourself. So it's just like, what do we learn from that? Do unto others. Like completely. Like it's not even worth it to get in that last word and you got the last word. They got the last word. You got the last word. Right, Michael? That's right. I let you get the last word because that's my last word coming from your lips. It really just sort of behooves us to lay down our arms and kind of go, ugh, this is stupid. Let's not fight. Right? So that's what we're supposed to learn from that. Okay, law number 2, law of the mind. What are we supposed to learn here? Your thoughts now create your future reality. These thoughts are the things that have led to reality. Your thoughts are the things that lead to your reality. Okay? So, your thoughts now and your thoughts in the past have led to this reality, and your thoughts now will lead to your future reality. Number 3, law of polarity. We learn that righteousness and ego are a paradox. Righteousness and ego. You are one with everything. So be righteous that they are wrong, or to be frickin' damn them to hell whether I'm wrong or not, is to just be damning yourself to hell either way. And fundamentally, there is no wrong, there is no right. It's just the two poles, right? Right is in the middle. You know, if you're swinging over here, you're probably not as right as you think you are. If you're swinging over here, you may not be as right as you think you are. It's the middle that's the right answer.
Balance.
Yeah, it's the balance between the two things. So the two poles exist, and you know, whether it's you know, somebody who believes in black supremacy or whatever, you know, he's right. He's right. He's also wrong. But whatever it is that he's viewing and looking at as the far swing this way is true. He's imbalanced in terms of the proper appreciation of all things equally as one with God. But, and you know, and the universe as a whole, right? You know, like he's out of whack. He's appreciating this particular flower too much. He's out of balance. The balance is in the middle, where he knows that, yes, it's true. Every wonderful thing he thinks about, the black race is absolutely true. But it's also true about white people and Hispanic people and ladies and boys and everybody. Everybody, we're all in this beautiful center here. And anything else is just this skew in a direction of imbalance, really. So there is no right. Like, the more right you are or the more wrong you are, the more you're ultimately wrong. Right and wrong, both wrong. The more in balance you are, that's right. See? All right. Moving to number 4. Vibration. What are we learning here? We're learning, you must match your vibration with what you want, as we talk about it in the law of attraction, for the world you want to live in. But really, what this needs to bring you to is a lot of questions. What is your vibration? How are you vibrating? What is your vibration attracting? Do you see that you're attracting consistent things? What are they? Are you doing something? Is there thoughts that you have? Are you having limiting beliefs about the type of people that you always meet? About the type of people that exist? About what people do to you? How they let you down? These are all vibrations that will attract the thing. One of my first big breakthroughs for myself personally, which has been really wonderful in the world, like when I was younger, I used to have bad experiences with police officers, and I've had a couple experiences recently where, like, I could have had a really bad experience and I didn't, because I attracted a very good police officer who tried to help me and didn't try to be a jerk. And I had had an idea in my mind years ago when I was younger that police officers were jerks, and that I could attract jerks at any given time. And then it was put to me that essentially you get what you expect. And if you expect terrible people in the universe, you will line up with the aspects of everybody that is terrible, because everybody is capable of being terrible sometimes. And you will line up with the part of them that sucks, and you will bring it out, and that's what you'll experience. Or you can line up with the other part of them, which is good, infinitely good, and way bigger than the crappy part of them. And you can be lined up with the notion that everywhere you go, that's always possible. And that, if anything else comes up, there's some sort of lesson in it or something that you should learn. And that, for me, has changed my life. I always have wonderful, wonderful experiences with everybody at coffee places and food places and, whatever else. Like, my luck with people is just always great. At the airport, wherever else, like, I'm just making friends everywhere I go. And it's nice. It can be like that for you. Because, even, I think I've said something similar to this, but, say there's a white supremacist at the airport, and you're staunchly against this, and I don't mean like I'm not staunchly against the supremacy of any kind, but I mean like in that you're somebody who would like want to say something to somebody like this, right? But if you go out into the world with the open mind about attracting the best aspects of people, you could potentially link up with this guy in a really positive way and have a positive effect on him, and communicate with the part of him that's a father and a great father and a good guy to his community, and the positive aspects that everybody has. Everybody has positive attributes, and you could have a positive effect on him moving forward in his life, and he could have a positive effect on you moving forward in your life. Or you could be out on the hunt for that guy, and when the airport comes, he says the right thing near you in earshot, and you get to yell at him. And I got news for you. We're all one. And what do you think that's doing? Anything? It's probably just creating a whole bunch of energetic karma for the two of those guys to work out in another life or later in this life as they run into each other in a state at some stupid rally in the future or something like that. We can start to dissolve this perpetual anger and aggression and argument and start to unify ourselves as a planet if we start to believe that it's possible that most of us are filled with a lot more good than bad. And I choose to believe that, and it's been a really, really beneficial thing for myself.
Okay, so let's see. Moving on here. We are... well, last thing I'll just say about vibration is really think about it. Vibration and what you want. You know, when we're talking about the law of attraction, what do I want? Are you giving off the right vibrations to get what you want? And I mean, it's not like a matter of like, I'm gonna be an actor, and like somebody's just gonna like, but are you of the mind that you could be an actor? Are you of the mind that the thing is possible? Are you nervously poking in the dark, you know? You could do yourself a world of good to just switch on that light and go, I believe that I can do this. And start vibrating like that. Vibrating like, I can do this and I'm going to try. Like, that's it. There you go. Does that vibration cancel out the previous vibrations that you can think of about anything that you might do? I can do this and I'm going to give it a try. There you go. That's a good vibration. If your vibration is like that or something close to that, great. But otherwise, the law of vibration teaches us that we should really think about what is our vibration. And I'll think a little bit more about specifically some of the things about your vibration in a second. 5, relativity. Okay. Other people's perspectives are relative to ours and can offer untold value to us if we do not take their relative projection personally. Let me tell you what I mean by that. Okay, so if I'm this vibration, I'm the color red, let's say, and then this is the relativity to red and it's green, okay? Red can learn a lot from green. There is perspective to be had from green. However, if if red allows green's perspective to change its own color, that is a problem. We're looking for balance. We're looking to come up to the edge, the connection points between this color and that color. We're looking to find that centrifugal bit that is holding it all together. And so often what happens with this relativity is that when we're getting the relative vibrations of those around us, it colors our unique vibration and we close ourselves off and we stop vibrating correctly because we get too much of their color all over us and it turns us into a brown, you know, and then all of a sudden we're not our unique shade of whatever it might be anymore. So it's very important for us to have be ready for the inspired action or the inspiration, you know, the perpetual energy that's coming forth from the universe that comes forth from your relativities. People who are like you but a little different, people who are adjacent to you or very different from you, you're going to learn a lot from them. However, what you should never learn from them is that you are lesser, you are not good, you stink, your color sucks. That's not what you're learning. And it's easy sometimes to learn that from the other colors when they start speaking, because the other colors are uniquely creating their own reality, just like you're uniquely creating your own reality. And they can only comment from the place that they're in. So if the idea of going to jail is very scary to them, every time you're saying that you might go to get some marijuana with your friend, you know, this person might be going, oh my God, you're gonna get arrested. Does that mean that you need to stop being red and you need to like start worrying about that the police are gonna get you one day because you smoked a little bit of weed with your friend? I don't think so. The balance is to understand that some people are reacting to it like this person, and yes, this is a nice reminder that, you know, I don't want to get in trouble for any of these things because that would be whatever. You know, you hear the information, you receive the perspective. This perspective isn't the most valuable one for, you know, our analogy, but it's a perspective that can be received. Now, if you were to take that perspective and go, oh, my friend thinks of me as a criminal, every time I say that I'm going to hang out with my other friend and we smoke weed, he mentions the police. He thinks that I'm some sort of lowlife criminal. Aha! That is what we learn from relativity we do not do. We do not do that because there are relativities. There are infinite relativities. You're one of them. You're a vibration. You're one of the relativities to the other relativities. So you are one of the infinite relativities, and there's no reason for you to be egoically affected, hurt, crushed by any of the other relativities, which are all equally fine, equal, balanced to you. Okay? And you need to be able to recognize them within that. We're all unique colors. We're all okay. It's all groovy. Finding that middle ground for all of us to be our unique selves is the goal of, or at least should be, of what's going on in this planet. And it is the goal as far as all the souls are concerned, subconsciously, whether we know it or not. Okay, moving on to number 6. The law of gender teaches us that that we have both masculine and feminine energies within our body, and they have to be balanced. Like I said, usually if you're a woman, you have not looked hard enough at your masculine. Usually if you're a man, you have not looked hard enough at your feminine. But some people are unique, and it can go a lot of different ways. And you might be wounded in your feminine in some small fashion or whatever else. But, understanding the masculine, feminine energy, the wavy lines and the straight lines is an important thing. Books on love languages, stuff like that are helpful to understand a little bit the different energies and vibrations that are going on in the world and the different ways that people are processing their experiences and the different ways you may be imbalanced in your gender, because a lot of this comes down to like giving and receiving. Basically everything's about giving and receiving. So if you're blocked in some of your areas of giving, you can't give compliments, you can't give sympathy, or you can't receive compliments, you can't receive sympathy. This is the type of thing that is masculine, feminine blockages that'll get you messed up. So you got to be aware of the different energies that your body is wrestling with and get yourself under control. And also be aware that other people are the same animals as you. They've got this Merkaba of mixed masculine, feminine energies, and they need to get themselves in balance as well. A lot of us are like, oh, that person balances me. You got to get yourself in balance. They got to get themselves in balance. That's always the way it goes. Get yourself in balance first. Put your mask on, and then put your child's mask on the airplane in case of an emergency. It's good advice. Okay, moving on to number 7. What can we learn from number 7? From the nothing comes the birth of all things. Let it come, do not resist. Futile, perpetual, opportunity keeps coming. Boat, chopper. If you want to think about that joke about the guy who drowns because he doesn't take the boat and the chopper, he's going to get another opportunity. He's going to reincarnate again. He's going to come back down. They're going to put him in that same scenario. The freaking water's going to come up to his neck. He's going to be praying for God. Boat's going to come, and maybe he'll take the helicopter this time. And then he won't have to repeat that same lesson over and over again. Everything is coming over and over and over. There's a perpetual transmutation of energy. This system is cranking, man. It is going to figure out every color. It's going to figure out every emotion. It's going to work out all the things that it wants to work out. The more society loves Star Wars, the more Star Wars we're going to get, because society loves Star Wars and we want to try to work some things out. There's energy from the universe for some of these things to be worked out. And like you can see that, right? That's a simple thing, Jesse. That's commerce. But it really isn't. We're seeing it working out as like a simple 2 + 2, but it's actually just intellectually people give a shit about this. And that energy has eventually moved mountains to make more and more content. And the same things happen with the Marvel Universe and other things, the Harry Potter franchise, a book that people get behind or whatever it might be. As intellectual idea and the mind and the will gets behind ideas, they take form and shape and power. Perpetual transmutation of energy. We will manifest destiny. The universe will explore itself completely. If not in this universe, then in others. So we might as well bring forth into this universe everything that we might like to see. 8, what do we learn from inspired action? I mean, this is kind of a simple one. Getting a little more specific here, we go, don't overdo it, don't underdo it, okay? Inspired action. this guy who was taking the boats, he can't take both the boats and the helicopter. He's got to take one of them. You know, or if he's like, God's going to give me the strength to swim all the way there, you know, he might drown himself by just kind of jumping the gun on the fact that a boat was coming. You didn't need to swim all the way there. There was a boat on the way for you. So inspired action, we don't want to overdo it. We want to let it come. You know, we don't underdo it either. You know, you underdo it and then the water gets over your head and you drown. In that joke, 3 things come, 2 boats and a helicopter. I always like to say that sometimes I feel like the universe only gives you 2 options. And I always like to make sure I'm on that second one. When I see it come the second time, I'm like, got it, got the message, taking the message, inspired action, gonna take some action. So, you know, so be on it, but don't be too on it. And I know it's always like this thing, it's like, be on it, but don't be too, but that's it. That is it. Be on it, but don't be too on it. Everything. Care, be conscious, but don't care. Because you have faith that all this crap is working itself out and the universe knows what you want. It's all in alignment. Okay. Take the appropriate actions at the appropriate time. I wanted to say, they come from nothing. You know, this thing of like from the mind came from nothing. The perpetual transmutation of energy, it's the, you know, the possibility. And what is it when you can't remember something? You go, all right, it'll come to me. And you move on, you start talking about something else, and a few moments later you go, oh, I know, Samsonite. I was way off. You know, but you get the right answer from the nothing. From the blank mind, when you finally give up on thinking, on churning, on trying, it comes to you. It comes to you when you're not trying, right? It comes to you when you're not trying. So this inspired action, these inspirations, it's when you're not trying. That's when they come. You trying is after this comes. Inspired action comes, and then you give it an effort in whatever it seems to be that you have to take an effort in. But that's it. No more, no less. You're waiting for this. I mean, you're not waiting. Things are always churning along. So as things come about, you're going to get the opportunity to act, and you act appropriately as it comes. All right. Moving on to number 9. Okay, the butterfly effect is true for everyone. The right action can cause everything. I mean, can change everything. Something small is your perspective. Everything, every cause and effect is ultimately equal to the universe. Something small is part of one infinite chain that affects everything it's connected to. So, you know, when you're thinking about some small thing, you know, you talk about the butterfly effect, the butterfly's flapping its wings. It's us that look at the butterfly and we're like, hey, look at the itty bitty butterfly, it's flapping its wings and it's changing things. It's amazing, this little thing. No, that's you. That's you and your egoic idea of a butterfly. It's a little bug. No, it's a infinite being, just like you. Different level of consciousness, and its existence here, its flap of its wing in the right direction could change everything, right? That's huge power within the hands of a butterfly, which could maybe get more connected to the Holy Spirit of the universe than you could, and flap its wings up a storm and change all sorts of things. And that's the thing, it's about getting into the ebb and the flow of the universe so that your wing flap can be felt and you can be a co-creator with the ebb and the flow of all the things. You know, it's like, because if you're trying to fight the pressure of Jupiter and Saturn as they're flying around the sun and the solar system, and they're picking up some momentum and, you know, like, there are moments where those things are waning and the pressure on the planet is less, and that's a better opportunity for you to act. You don't want to fight these things. You want to be riding and rolling along with them. You know, so that you can then go, oh, it's going that way. And I know if I flap my wings as the butterfly, I'm adding to that thing. And now it's going to be an even bigger swing back for me in the good direction when it comes back around, because I pumped good energy into that thing for it to come back to me. Give and receive and carry it forward. Yeah. You know, cause and effect is, you know, also the big give and receive one. You know, cause and effect. Giving and receiving is going on right, you know, here in the early stages of everything. It is the universe, and the cause and effect mostly is like, well, what did you give, and then so what did you receive, and what did you give, and so what did you receive, and what did you get? I mean, it just kind of goes along with that, and that's your cause and effect. So always looking to say, what did I give, is a great question to start taking control of that cause and effect. Because when you know what you're giving and what you're giving is great, then you know that you're going to start receiving a commensurate effect somewhere along the way, even if it isn't immediate. Because, you know, you might have been pumping some tokens into that machine for a while that said you weren't going to get anything back. But now that you're pumping tokens into the machine of getting something back, you will eventually. Even if you give up at some point, eventually a bunch of things are going to come back to you, and you'll be like, hey, things came back around to me for that time that I put things in the machine. Question?
No, Angela Reinhardt says, like Bruce Lee says, drop a pebble in a pond and soon the ripples will move all around the pond.
Mm-hmm, exactly.
Cody's in the house.
Cody's in the house. Hey, brother Cody, Merry Christmas. Okay, so moving on to number 10 here. I got a little A and B kind of broken up for this. Because we're on rhythm. So the nature of the mind of God is to divide and explore, creating natural shapes, rhythms, and concepts. By studying sacred geometry, Platonic solids, and sacred math and numerology, you can understand all of this stuff a lot better. I talked about this a little bit earlier already. Rhythms, you know, there's so many ways to find rhythms. The major arcana cards in tarot are just all based on rhythms. The numbers that are set up there, you know, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, notice it's that rhythm, and tarot does the same thing. That's why I put it there. The patterning inherent within the universe itself is to our benefit, to learn, to know when the crops are going to grow so that we know that we can save crops when the crops aren't going to grow. The seasons are there, these rhythms are there for a reason, for us to understand ourselves and to work with ourselves. And, you know, we're talking about doing others as you would do unto yourself, do unto the planet as you would do unto yourself, do unto the cats and the animals and the trees and everything as you would do unto yourself, because it's all one with you. So as much as you can become in harmony with the rhythms of nature is coming into harmony with oneself. Okay. And then B, looking into our horoscopes, birth charts can help most people to find and harness their cosmic rhythms. Yeah, I never really believed in horoscopes and stuff when I was younger, but now I really do understand how they work and why they do work. And while I do think that a horoscope is something to be sort of transcended, you kind of want to look at your horoscope as a place where you may have began and you're trying to get to a balanced version of that unique person. But they are very unique. They are very helpful to your experience, especially when you can find out like about cosmic events and things like that. Know when to go on vacation, know when to be taking breaks, things like that. You can get that information, especially if you do really good birth charts and different people can do them for you. There's an app that I love called The Pattern. There's a lot of really good ways to find out. So I recommend that because rhythm teaches us that there are many rhythms for us to know and understand, and they can be helpful. Okay, Law 11, correspondence. Everything comes back around again in a new octave. You know, that's really the thing. I used to think that good always triumphed over evil. No, that's just the perspective of good. The evil would say, well, I beat him last time. You know, like, you know, the evil wins this time, and it's their perspective that they've had a major victory. It's like, while the heroes are not celebrating their major victory, the villains are. And then eventually the heroes are like, ha ha, we got him. And the villains are like, oh, we're defeated. But then they come back around. It's just a perpetual thing. Everything's coming back around again. And why it behooves us to just sort of pull off this thing and stop punching ourselves in the face, yelling at ourselves. It's not doing us any good. It's just hurting us, giving us more karma. Okay, moving on to number 12. We've got infinite compensation. Now, everything that can be, will be, whether that's on a larger multiversal scale, meaning it's happening in another world but not here to you. But, as I said, that is up to you. That is up to you to bring in the infinite possibility of what's possible in your universe. It is for you to dream bigger and create a future that may currently seem impossible. Your future that you should be thinking about might seem impossible to you. You know, when I came to this concept, basically I decided I wanted to have my own Disney World one day. And that seemed like such a silly thing. You know, what, you're going to be Walt Disney? Walt Disney's my hero. I love Walt Disney, you know, warts and all. But like what he did, and you know, and my heroes are the guys who have built empires like that. And I would love to do that. And I have just sort of a fabulous vision in my mind of this theme park that it's just a great place to go. It's just filled with all the things I love and built on the backs of all the things that I make and that I plan to make. And it's sort of a ridiculous dream, but there's no reason not to. There's no reason not to have ridiculous dreams and try to take steps in the direction of them. And to know that, you know, it doesn't matter whether they happen or not. It's just sort of like wonderful things to think about and imagine. And in lieu of doing that, what do? Nothing. You know, I hadn't really even, you know, I knew that my ex-wife wasn't my dream girl. And, you know, it broke my heart to feel that way because I love her so much. I still do. But on some level, I just knew that, like, she wasn't the one. And I thought that maybe there was the one. And at least I kind of wanted to see. And not being convinced of that thing, it just was hanging there for me to want to explore as a possibility and feel like I was depriving myself of the possibility. And within that context, I never, because I wasn't honoring myself. And I wasn't honoring myself even more. I hadn't even ever bothered, because I fell in love, you know, when I was in high school. I hadn't even bothered to imagine what my dream girl was, like in my mind or my heart, because I was kind of afraid to even think of that I might not get it. So like I wanted to get something that I was terrified that I might not get, like, you know, I mean, and these are the interesting problems that come up when you're dealing with the idea of dreaming bigger, because we've all lost things, and it's very easy to go, well, Jesse, I don't know if I want to dream any bigger. You know, I lost that, and that was my biggest dream prior to this, and when I lost that, I couldn't take it. Just because we've lost things in the past doesn't mean that we're destined to lose things again in the future. And we can't change our attitudes and become afraid of doing the things that we have to do to get what we want in the present because of all of our fear about the past. In general, you are one with everything. You're a God in the universe. And God, the universe, however you want to think about it, and this was something that I learned when I was on ayahuasca, maybe in Peru. You know, God or the universe, it feels all of our suffering. It doesn't want to suffer. We're choosing to suffer because we don't understand different things, and we're misaligned in our minds, and we're causing mental suffering. And it's literally causing anguish to the amorphous universe. It hurts because we hurt. And it has no interest in us hurting ourselves beyond any of the mechanisms that it has dispassionately put into place to help grow us and teach us. There are things that we have decided alongside God and the universe to do for ourselves. You know, going to jail, it's a service that we did to ourselves to learn something. It may not seem like that at the time. It's not going to, but that is what it is. It is a path that we put ourselves on to learn from, to grow from. But that doesn't mean that we actually can't have a great time in prison and that we don't have to be prisoners of the mind. And you could say that we're prisoners in various ways, and everybody is in their own way. And learning to be sort of the happy prisoner, and to try to learn from the things that you can't control, and know that there's no reason why everything else can't be sunny days and Lucky Charms and roses. It can be. Things can just be always wonderful. And occasionally, life will throw you a curveball, but you know that you're meant to learn from that. And if you do, you'll grow and on with the show. You won't have to learn that same lesson ever again. Are you a good question?
Comments, Lyle says, the only dream that won't come true is the dream you refuse to dream.
Mm-hmm.
Say it again so they can hear.
I gotta have this cookie. Okay. Oh, so good.
The only dream that won't come true is the dream you refuse to dream.
Lyle says, the only dream that won't come true is the dream you refuse to dream. That's absolutely true.
And then related to what you're saying, Angela says, I have learned that when I hurt from someone or something, I take away from it, and I use that to fight on.
Yeah. Well, and really, Angela, what you got to do is you got to try to change your perspective. You have to know, oh, it's terrible that these people feel so weak in their position that when I do XYZ, they feel the need to project from their reality and perspective the notions in their mind that are holding them back from being more like me. I'm glad that these things are not holding me back and that I get to be my unique self. And I'm so glad that I can see and appreciate these things as blocks in other people and know that I'm okay. You know? Thank you. It's about just, changing your thought on the matter. And a lot of times it's going to be about changing your thought on the matter to sort of raising your status a little bit, giving yourself a pat on the back and going, I'm a leader. I'm a leader by taking the high road. I'm a leader by trying to choose to see better in these people and to take pity before I take malice in their words. There's a wonderful movie I was just watching the other day, The Christmas That Almost Wasn't. It's one of my favorite. If you're still in the Christmas mood, you want to watch a great Christmas movie, Christmas That Almost Wasn't is great, and it's free on Crackle with some advertising. It's a musical. It's really like low rent kind of thing, but awesome. And there's a moment in the movie where Prune, the bad guy who's trying to steal Christmas, he's letting out a diatribe of just all these things, just sort of ridiculously sort of evil things about his perspective. And when he's done doing so, Mrs. Claus just goes straight over to him so innocently and puts her hand on his shoulder, and she goes, "Oh, you poor man." And everything he just said was an indictment of her and Santa Claus. He's taken their money. He's going to steal Christmas. They're not going to be able to do the things they love. He doesn't care about children. He doesn't care about them. And all she can take from this man doesn't care about children. This man doesn't care about goodwill towards men and doesn't care about Christmas and good situations. This poor person. And that's it. That's where you have to go. It makes me want to cry because when I see it in the movie, I just think to all the times where I haven't been able to do that myself. you know, where some jerk is a jerk and you're like, you're a jerk. And what good did I do? I could have been like Mrs. Claus, and, you know, like, and I like Mrs. Claus way better than I like me for being a jerk to the jerks. Sorry. I was a little emotional earlier. I thought I might cry, but that scene always makes me cry because it's just like, it's just so wonderful. He's just, what more could you say, you jerk off? And then this lady's like, you poor person. It's so terrible that your perspective is such that it's keeping you in this place. I feel awful for you. I wish you could see it the way I do. And, you know, and maybe better still than that is to try and see the best in the people like Jesus did. Try to see them in their wholeness, see them in their fullness, and you know, raise them up that way. Sorry, that movie made me cry my eyes out, and I cry every time I watch that damn movie. Okay, so we're getting into the end of things here, but I want to make sure I blow my. Can I have a paper towel over there? So let's see. What are we learning from the law of attraction? Essentially going over what I just spoke about before. We create our own reality because we choose it based on what we believe. What we believe is possible. We're letting the rules of reality get in the way of the infinite possibility. Now, this is really, truly the thing. There's all these rules put upon us by society. We call this the box. Thinking outside the box, thinking inside the box. The box tends to limit what we allow into our lives. The more we live in the box, the more the possibilities for our experience are limited. That's why living outside of this box and being very, very unlimitedly open-minded to what is possible is the best thing for us to do. And it's the best thing to do when you're trying to attract the reality you want or create the reality we want. Okay. So we'll be wrapping this up in a second. First, I should say, I really enjoyed doing this. There's a whole bunch of different things that I've been talking about, continuing to talk about beyond this class. Largely a lot of experiential things because it's come to me that people enjoy hearing about some of my personal experiences that have helped me to understand a lot of these spiritual concepts and have helped to grow me in my life. I've certainly had a lot of interesting experiences along the way, from, you know, losing people close to me, and you know, fires and divorce, and you know, marrying my high school sweetheart, having 4 children, having a father who's a rock star, and all the other things, the ups and downs that they went through, him and my mother, having siblings and friends, and working in a dozen different industries. I certainly have a lot to offer. So I am thinking about continuing to do this every Monday through another avenue. I'm still figuring that out, but maybe I'll be ready on Monday. I don't know, but I've had a bunch of different requests from different people saying they wanted me to continue. So I'm trying to figure out how to continue it a little bit more smaller scale. If I do it a little bit more intimate like this. Hit me. Yeah, and yeah, a bit more interactive. If you're interested in continuing this journey, hit me at JesseBlazeSnider@gmail.com, and I'll give you the information for where I will be continuing to do this. Like I said, I'm going to be figuring it out next few days, so hit me up if you're interested in more. But to bring this all to a conclusion, I really want you to know, what are you doing with this information? I mean, I just gave you a bunch of things to learn. How is this stuff practically applied? How does one apply this information to a human life? So I'm going to go through a bunch of different categories right now, and I'm going to talk about everything for a few minutes. If you can think of any category that I'm missing that you would like me to give you some insight on, the 5 that I have written here is health, politics, family, romance, and finances. And how do we apply these things to those things? So I'm going to be talking about this, but you can drop a comment if you've got anything in particular. So Health. Okay. We live in a world of 3D medicine. You say, ow, this hurts. They go and they fix the thing and it's better, right? Wrong. What came first, the chicken or the egg? The idea for the chicken, the idea for the egg. So I know it sounds silly, but the idea for the injury comes first. The idea for the disease comes first. The idea for the cancer comes first. Okay? There is an idea in you, an energy, a vibration within your body that is causing even physical injuries. You couldn't twist your ankle and make that mistake if not for this energy that was in you that was looking for the right place to go. And it usually is very on the nose. You know, if you got stomach problems because you're churning over things in your stomach, you got heart problems because you're worried that you know, you're not living, you know, your true life, or you've got ovary problems because you're ashamed of your body and you're ashamed of your sexuality. You know, things correspond to your mental state, and you're going to be the one who knows this best. So many of the things that would correspond with the injuries that you would have, usually they're very deep. This isn't the kind of stuff that you want to talk to. You know, your injury came from your shame. Your injury came from your fear. You know, it's difficult to recognize and connect and heal the energy of a rape from a past life or whatever else when you're not even remotely looking at the fact that energy is what is causing all of your injury. All of your dis-ease is being caused by energy, being caused by ideas. Okay? So I just talked to a friend the other day. They've had a whole bunch of problems and they were going to get their gallbladder removed. And I said, hey, look, you know, I only say this to you because I love you, but you gotta figure out what is the energetic cause of this gallbladder thing, because removing your gallbladder is all well and good. It will relieve your symptoms. But if the energy has not changed for you, there's just going to be some new organ nearby the gallbladder or some new injury that makes sense for your body that will manifest itself, because your energy is the thing that's the problem. It's not the injury. Injury doesn't create energy, bad energy. The energy creates the injury. Of course, getting frustrated with injury can create more bad. But the injuries and the disease, that comes from the state of mind that we're finding ourselves in various ways, blockages that we have. So if you're dealing with any sort of ongoing ailments, I encourage you to explore these things deeply within yourself. Try to get down to the bottom of what the spiritual cause for some of your dis-ease, because the physical is not everything. It's both things. So do you have to do the physical thing? Sure. But healing the energetic one is the more important one, because the physical one's never going to go away until you get rid of that leak, until you get rid of that energy that is causing that problem. All right. Moving on to, let's see, romance. Talking about romance and wanting to attract the partner that we like. All of our energies are on display for our partner, whether they know it or we know it or not. I used to have a manager who was very sort of fearful at their heart, and I was very fearful at my heart, and that's really why we attracted each other, because we were both gun shy. And you know, and we knew it. And quietly, if you are trying to trick or trap your partner, they will feel that. Quietly, if you're trying to dominate a relationship, you know, like, everybody feels these things. Ideally, we should be individuals who are coming into our own uniqueness and have strength within ourselves and love within ourselves to be our own unique beings. And we're finding people who complement our energy and feed that fire. We're not going out to find somebody who replaces the thing we need. Because, too, that's a terrible energy. You're just going to suck it out of their face and then, like, you know, discard them. that's a good thing to go be involved and be near people who have similar energy that you need to absorb, to study people who have energy that you need to absorb. Like, you're sitting with me, it's probably because you like my energy, and on some level you'd like to be able to absorb some of this energy. So, that's good. Find other people whose energy you like so that you can find your own individual richness. So, lining up with what you want romantically, it's like fixing a injury energetically first, so that the healing sticks. If you want a relationship to stick, you got to heal yourself first, and you need to be of the mind that you're not there to fix the other person, that the other person is also fixing themselves, and that you're just in support of them on their individual journey, and you're both unique paths of trying to fix each other, and that you're supporting each other so that you can both feel like you can make it. Finances. With all things, having an understanding of what you're doing, what you're looking at, is always better. The more you understand, the more you can be inspired in specific ways, in thoughtful ways. So having a balance between, being Mr. It's raining money, and practically understanding what the bills are, what you need to make these things, knowing when the crops are going to be in harvest and when the crops are not going to be available. Those are the things that you have to do so that you can properly take care of yourself during the winter when the things aren't coming in. So, there is balance with finances, similar to everything, because there's an ebb and flow to the sort of prosperity, the giving and receiving that is inherent in society. So you really want to make sure that you're on top of that. Yeah, question?
Yes. Angela says, do you think clumsiness could also be an energy?
Do I think clumsiness can be an energy? I think clumsiness is multiple things. I think clumsiness is sometimes a gift from the gods. Sometimes clumsiness is synchronicity. It is the universe making you do something in order to progress the world forward in some way, in order to make a cause to have a certain effect for the future. So I think clumsiness is that. Also, I think clumsiness is the opposite of that, because what you would call that is that you're sort of so in the zone, or so in the flow, or so sort of available, even for just a moment, that the universe is able to reach through you and go bang. And I think the opposite of clumsiness is the same, except you're so blocked from your flow, the flow within your body, the flow within your mind, that you're behaving clumsy. So I would call clumsiness two different things: blockages, and sometimes can be a gift. Sometimes it can be a little portion of possession. Okay. So, and then when it comes to finances and romance, family, politics, I'm going to get, the rest of these, health, all these things. When you're thinking about them in terms of the law of attraction, remember, we don't want to be making a list. We don't want to be getting into the long, specific list about our health. When the inspiration comes in for some action that we're going to take, like, I should make an appointment for myself for acupuncture. Okay, we go and we do that. And whatever thinking we have to do for the acupuncture, we think at that time as it's come in. We don't pre-think that. We don't sit there and waste our time worrying, which is essentially the thing. We're not trying to make a list of things to worry about. I just know that these are the things you guys are worrying about. They're the things that I've always worried about. So I'm trying to talk about them specifically so that you can understand. But this is to be sort of like put out of your mind. You know that you have specific desires in all of these areas. And in terms of attracting what you want, just get out of the way. Get out of the way and know that your highest good is always available, and just keep focusing on that. So we talked about romance, finance. So we can go family and friends. So much often our friends and our family end up becoming sort of a microcosm for the universe. We look out like onto Facebook, let's say, right? And you look at all the different sort of political opinions that exist. And then you can kind of look around your family and your friends, and you can find a match to every single one of those opinions that exist. Like, oh, Marky's the this guy, and Jeffy's the this guy, and Jennifer's the that person. And, you know, everybody is representing different archetypes in your world. Because of the nature of the pressure that the world has been kind of putting upon us, where a lot of situations have been really kind of untended to for a long time, and a lot of problems seem to be just kind of sitting there under the surface and not being addressed, we have this situation where things are coming to a head with our friends and our family, with them filling in as proxies for the whole world, for every group of people who might be holding similar thoughts or vibrations to the other individuals. It really behooves us to remember this polarity thing. Remember that everybody's right, even when they seem really wrong, because the real right answer is the balance in the middle between everything. And to put our righteousness aside, and to also lower our expectations sometimes. Sometimes we have really high expectations for certain people, and we're like, I can't believe that Mark would blah, blah, blah. You know, like, yeah, okay, give Mark a break. Maybe, he's getting to it. And really, everybody's getting to it. Infinite compensation. Eventually, everybody's getting to it. Eventually, everything that's going to be is going to be. It's all going to work itself out. And that's why, we're not supposed to be going around judging everybody. It's not for us to judge. The infinite mind knows everything, knows what came before, knows what's coming after. And we don't know anything. We know that everybody is the infinite thing of God. Everybody's one with us, and that we should be nice to everybody because we're one with everybody. And it just behooves us. Every time we're nice to somebody else, we're just being nice to ourselves. So what else is there, right? So, when it comes to our family, we need to recognize that we're sort of like, we're turning them into the outside world so that we can fight it a little bit. And, we want to change society. We want to change the society that taught our fathers these stupid things. We want to change the societies that taught our mothers these stupid things. We want to change the societies that taught our siblings these stupid things. And when we are viewing it like that they're representative of those aspects of society that we feel oppressed by or triggered by or don't care for or think should be amended, we end up just getting into fights with the people that we love the most, the people who are closest to us. And deep and meaningful, visceral fights, the kind that you don't want to have, the kind that end relationships. And no stupid little fight about, the unique ways everybody's vibrating should be the end of all the love that we have to give to each other. Because anybody who's lived in a family knows that there's a lot more love to be had in the family than there is the annoying grievances that we have with our family. There's also the great cards and the sweet presents and having people there sharing a tradition with us and, showing up every year, doing it together over and over again. And that means something to you and them. That those are things that have much more value than momentary arguments about Bigfoot, or something silly that might be, something that you're passionate about. And maybe it is the thing that we all have to lower our expectations and change our expectations to from what we hoped we were going to be able to sort of like, the authentic person that we hoped we were going to be able to be with all people. When you can get friends who you can be really, really authentic with, that is great, and you should value that so much. And I think trying to be really authentic with our friends, our old friends and our family as we change, can be really tricky sometimes. And that's when we have to change our expectations a bit so that we can open ourselves up to allow new energetic patterns and possibilities to take shape. Because when we start getting like hung up on, oh, they don't understand me and I don't know if this is ever going to change or blah, 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 All we need to know is we want them in our lives. We love them, and that there's way more good for you to give them and way more good for you to give them, or them to give you, than there is bad stuff. And it's the same thing with it, going out into the world with the strangers, and we're going to talk to the white supremacist, and we're going to have an argument with him, we're going to dress him down, or we can just have a really nice time, and we're going to make both of our lives better and be affected by the conversation for years to come positively, both of us. Wouldn't that be nice? So, that's really what it comes down to. All right, wrapping up politics. Politics. Ultimately, guys, when it comes to politics, the people who are really polarized are what? Wrong. They're wrong. All of them. They're all wrong. Every single one of them. Everyone who is super polarized, they're wrong. They're the furthest away from the center. That's how it is. They're wrong. So literally, if you go, what are you voting for, Jess? Red or blue? I go, wrong. What are you talking about? That's wrong. What do I want to pick? Crazy or crazy? What sort of absurdity are we discussing here? We know now that we're a polarized entity, and we're literally looking at left or right. Well, that's stupid. How about center? The left wing and the right wing are on the same plane. Okay? The center is the answer. And as much as I lost friends this past year over basically just trying to sort of plead for a little bit of neutrality, and to stop demonizing each other, because there's some people who are on the left who feel very much like Donald Trump is going to usher in the Third Reich. And I'm sorry for those who believe that, but I don't believe that. I can't believe that. I'm not, for so many reasons. Wonderful that we live in America where there's so many checks and balances. And, we're not Germany. So I don't believe that our military would execute anything like that. And I don't actually believe that that's in Donald Trump's heart either. And I'm somebody who goes by my intuition, and my intuition says that's not true. The situation's always what the situation's been. The left side and the right side are arguing, and they keep demonizing each other, making each other terrible. Are they terrible? No, they're not really as terrible as they're painted. No one's as black as they be painted, is a great little quote. And the same thing on the Democratic side of things. It's a very reasonable perspective to think, hey, we're putting $5 trillion into military spending. We can't break off $1 billion and clean the air, help the impoverished, make the world a little bit of a better place. Yes, absolutely. It's also true that conversation has become very politicized. It goes back and forth. There is truth to both sides, but they're both wrong. It's a polarity. We need to be doing both. Yeah, we need to be working towards the middle. We need to be trying to clean the air and trying to clean the water, and maybe not having these silly conversations about all these big business corporate deals we have to make, and just start cleaning our planet and being good custodians of it. That is the basic idea behind the Democratic Party. Just the way the Democratic Party likes to do it is just kind of stupid, ass backwards, and doesn't actually get anything done. But that idea is the right idea. We need that idea mixed with a little bit less let's not let the government screw everything up. A little bit of that idea is a good idea too. They are screwing things up. So a little bit of, hey, let's not let the government screw it up, and hey, let's do the things that are right for everybody. Right up the middle. Balance. We need balance. I ask you, in the future, to look to support the middle parties, and I don't know if the Green Party is the right party. I haven't explored all these things, for the moment, but other political parties, other things to do. Instead of getting in the middle of the fight between dirtying the planet and cleaning up the planet, why not just start cleaning up the planet? Why not just start donating your money to the company that invented those cool boats that go around and clean up the ocean? They pick up all the garbage from the ocean. Why not just start putting our energy into the things that would help, instead of allowing this wrong polarity, this left-right polarity, to keep going on for forever? You know, I love everybody. I want us all to make it. I don't want to stand in judgment and be like, you guys don't get to come, only the Mormons. You know, they were the only ones who got all the stipulates. You know, like, it's not about getting the stipulates. Like, we'll all get there. We'll all figure out how to be nice, contributing members of society and be happy and not have to live in poverty and, you know, learn and grow. Like, it's there for us to have. But it does come with a, you know, it comes with the Hatfields and the McCoys putting down their shotguns and shaking hands and letting us make the world go around again. And just forgiving everybody. Everybody. All right, guys. I love you. Thank you so much for hanging out with me for 14 classes of this. I can't believe we did this. High five, Michael. We got cookies out of it. Thanks, Lyle. I'm going to finish that cookie with some milk in a little bit. Again, email me at JesseBlaze@gmail.com if you're interested in moving forward with the thing that I'm going to be continuing with, sort of a personal...
Just one word, Jesse.
Yeah, it's JesseBlazeSnider@gmail.com.
Jesse Blaze Snider.
Yeah, JesseBlazeSnider@gmail.com. And just drop me an email if you're interested. And it's going to be sort of just an earthly experience-based spiritual show, you know, based on so many of these things. Maybe a little shorter, but not, you know, probably like an hour or something like that. You know, it's going to be a little podcast here. I'm not sure. It might develop into a podcast. It might develop into something. I don't know exactly how it's going to start. Yeah, for now it might just be something that I'm going to offer on like this thing, a cameo, something that I'm looking at right now. But I'm looking into it all next few days, and I hope to keep it going. But me and Michael are looking to do a lot more content like this in the future, cut down things of some of the stuff that we did here, and we will eventually be sharing it up on the various YouTubes and stuff, so things that you might be able to share with friends. And then again, as long as nobody protests who has bought tickets to the class over the months, we're going to be offering this whole series online on YouTube for free, probably in a few months, just to give a little space for everybody who paid and was a part of the thing from the jump. But yeah, so in the future you'll be able to share these videos. Anyway, it was a pleasure. And hey, Michael, you want to come say hi real quick? Just keep the tooth. Michael chipped his tooth. He's not a hillbilly. This is Michael's in. Me and Michael helped mastermind this and get this all done. Thank you, Michael. Merry Christmas. Happy New Year.
Great job,
More
brother.
in the New Year. Yes, thank you.
Totally.
Thank you so much for hanging out with us.
Thanks, Tim,
I'm
for the
so
cookies.
glad we are done. And thank you, Tranquility Within, for letting us broadcast from there. We just kind of like, since I did the last one from my friend's house and we were just kind of segueing out of there into something new, we figured we would just do the last one this way as well. With the holiday and everything, it was easier on us, so I hope you don't mind. Anyway, wonderful night. I feel really good. I feel like I did good. All right. Hope you enjoyed the class. See you next time. Bye-bye.